am George Knapp, listening to that UFO podcast and having one hell of a good time.
Did you know that podcast advertising is way more effective than display advertising, with 67% of listeners remembering brands and 63% making a purchase after hearing them? Whether you want to diversify your ad spend, add a new marketing stream, or test out podcast ads, Zencastr's Creator Network makes it easy for brands to connect with podcasters. Zencastr's mission is to make podcast advertisements as easy and accessible to business owners as Google or Facebook. Host-read ads like this are the most effective form of podcast advertising. Zencastr works with podcasters to help create unique to them ad spots that create brand awareness and conversion. Zencastr's Creator Network is the perfect place for you to get into podcast ads and sponsor your favourite creators like me. I've worked with Zencastr now for some time, and they truly put the content creators and the listeners at the heart of what they do. As a huge fan of podcasts myself, and I really mean that, I love podcasts, I often buy products or services that I find useful to me based on those pods that I'm listening to. It supports them, and there's usually a good discount to go along with it. So if you're interested in sponsoring this show or another podcast with adverts for your business, go to zen.ai/that UFOpod1, that's the number 1, or click the link in the description and fill out the contact information so Zencastr can help you bring your business story to life. Hi everyone, and welcome back to That UFO podcast. My name is Andy, and it's just me for a change. This is a breakdown, bit of an impromptu breakdown. I was hoping to get out an interview with Mr. Grant Cameron, but unfortunately that's been delayed slightly at the very last minute. So as soon as Grant is available, we'll get that recorded, discussing his new book, UFO Sky Pilots. AJ Javard, Brazilian researcher, was also due to appear recently, and that's had to move to next month, so those will both still happen. In that absence, you've got me, myself, and I. However, my next guest, should she still be available to appear, will be Leslie Kane, New York Times journalist and author. We've got a lot to discuss. That's being recorded this weekend, so with any luck, something drops this week, which gives us a little something extra to dissect. However, given the chance I had some time to record set aside, I thought I'd speak to you myself and share my thoughts on some news that's happened in the last couple of days. And also, at the end of this short breakdown, I'll put on my recent interview that's not been released yet except on premium platforms with Italian representative of ICER, that's the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research, Paolo Guizzardi. Paolo has been on the podcast before as a guest, and I caught up with him just last week to find out a little update on his efforts through the United Nations and Project Titan to bring the UFO topic to that forum and platform. So please stick around for that after I share my thoughts on a few news updates with you. And for this format, when other people aren't available, when Dan's not available, then give me a shout. Do you like the kind of one-to-one updates when they're very short and quick and snappy? I wouldn't want to sit and talk to you like this for 45 minutes or an hour, but it's nice to have some alone time. I suppose I need to start with the delayed report, which is still delayed. That was due to Congress on the 31st of October. As I record this, that was now 15 days ago. I talked about this with Dan on the last breakdown, and since people at this point on social media seem to have simmered down from the initial annoyance at the report's lateness, it's prompted some more civil and reasoned discussions, which are always nice to see. At this early stage, regardless of any rumours floating around online, I think it's safe to say it's going to be a report that is very much in its infancy of what these could eventually be. Some of you may be sick of hearing it, but the fact is Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who is heading up the team, has had a very short amount of time to put this report together. I think it's the equivalent of starting a 4-year university course and on day 1 being told you've got 6 months to complete it, but you can go find the tutors and the answers to those questions for yourself before you even know what most of those questions are going to be. I feel that's the task that's currently at hand for Dr. Kirkpatrick and others. So, will we continue to wait, temper expectations, and just hope it gives us a small building block to use going forward? On a related note, Graham Hancock's new Netflix series Ancient Apocalypse has prompted quite a lot of debate online. It's an 8-part series where Graham travels prominent sites around the globe that add fuel to the idea there may have been far more advanced civilizations with perhaps greater technological capabilities further back in time than we currently understand. I've only caught the first 2 episodes so far, but I will be doing a more thorough review once I've managed to finish the series. I'd be really interested in your thoughts if you've caught the series or just in this overall area of discussion. It may not directly be UFO related, but it's certainly worth discussing as an offshoot of the overall conversation. It's something you may have heard me dip into with guests now and again. It's certainly relevant. I definitely feel from the quarter of the Netflix series I've managed to watch, it's worth your time. It's beautifully shot and explores some incredible areas that more and more are thrown into the UFO conversation. Just in the first 2 episodes, you see Indonesia and Mexico. And in those conversations, we hear a lot about our own past and our ancestry we know of may be incorrect, what has been hidden away from us by governments, by time and natural disasters over the centuries and millennia. Interestingly enough, maybe linked, maybe not, I may be throwing a pretty spurious link together here, Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies sent out a tweet earlier today which read, "Is humanity facing an extinction-level event in the near future? An important part of the BICS grants programme is to fund research that considers this problem through authenticated and corroborated information that can be shown to come from senior sources on the quote-unquote other side." Interesting timing, especially given the popularity of said Netflix show at the moment. It was trending #1 in the UK, I know that much. It's something I've discussed with, like I say, guests in the past like Frank Milburn, Michael P. Masters, Ross Coulter, John Ramirez and others, talking about cataclysm, past disasters like that. One to definitely keep an eye on. Avi Loeb, former guest, recently set the cat amongst the pigeons with his article that dismissed the idea that reports of UAPs above the skies in Ukraine were actually nothing more likely than fireballs being misidentified, citing a lack of quality data and real evidence. Reading his latest debrief article, link in the description, he clears this up quite fairly, I have to say, and has now found himself chastised by both skeptics previously and now believers alike in the UFO community. And I'll read you a quote from Avi's article, but you should check it out. "Altogether, it was a sobering revelation for me to realise that adopting the agnostic middle ground faces severe scrutiny from both sides of a polarised community. Under such circumstances, progress in our scientific knowledge is suppressed by both sceptics and believers who prefer not to abandon their premature convictions. We often complain about politics being shaped by such tendencies. I never imagined the scientific inquiry suffers from it as well." I think it's fair in what he says, folks. Many can get stuck on either side of the UFO argument with their own viewpoints, and while myself from the side of a believer, as you know, I want every sighting and report to be a truly anomalous object. That is never going to be the case, though. We need to make sure that in our reactions we don't drive away serious academics and scientists from these discussions at a time when that door is open. We really have pushed that door open to allow those minds and different thinkers in that could make a huge difference to our discussion on a topic we love so much and that really could help us progress. Let's make sure we welcome new thoughts and thinking and ideas with an olive branch of understanding rather than a baseball bat of defence. And just before I hand over to Paolo Guizzardi, I want to remind folks that virtual tickets are still available for the next inquiry into anomalous experiences and phenomena conference that is being held in New York City on December 3rd, Saturday, December 3rd. Dan is going to be attending along with our friend and colleague Graham Rendell. They'll be there in person, along with hosts James Iandoli, J. Christopher King, Kelly Chase of the UFO Rabbit Hole podcast, and Priscilla Stone of Quantum Witch Cafe. Definitely check that one out. The lineup is stellar. Christopher Mellon headlines with Leslie Kane, Jeffrey Cripple, Ralph Blumenthal, Sharon Hewitt-Rollitt and Whitley Strieber. And they've also promised some surprises in amongst there as well. I can only imagine with the likes of Chris Mellon and Leslie Kane on stage, there may be some other familiar faces in the crowd, let alone Dan and Graham. So definitely, if you've not got a ticket, I believe in person are now sold out. You should definitely check out the live stream, and they will be taking questions from the live stream for those guests as well. The link to buy those tickets is also in the description. Well, that's all from me, folks, on this slightly different breakdown. Let me hand over to a discussion now I had with Paolo Guizzardi, who is the Italian national representative of ICER, on his efforts through San Marino to bring the UFO topic to the United Nations and beyond. Babbel is one of today's sponsors, and they are the best way for you to begin to learn a new language. Immersing yourself in the language of your choice from day one through a whole range of learning styles, including podcasts, games, and online classes. It's available on desktop or through their app. Babbel's courses are created by didactics experts and focus on real-life situations. So if you're holidaying in France and spot a UFO, you can get locals' attention quickly and efficiently. The lessons are as short as 15 minutes and fit into any schedule and can be downloaded to work on offline while on the go. With the help of everyday dialogue exercises and the speech recognition software, learners can practice their pronunciation, and regular vocabulary repetition ensures that what is learned is memorised over the long term. I can already hear some of you listeners getting in touch to tell me I should really learn English given my dodgy accent. When you buy a 6-month subscription to Babbel, you receive 6 months extra for free by using the code AUDIO1. That's AUDIO 1, the number 1. Pay for 6 months and learn for a whole year. Get info and redeem the code at babbel.com/audio. Folks, today is the day you finally decide to make a life-changing decision and learn that new language. Joining me on the breakdown at this time is former guest. He is a ufologist and Italian representative of ICER, which is the International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research. I have Paolo Guizzardi. Paolo, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Andy. My pleasure.
It's very good to have you again, and you've been a busy man. I interviewed you in detail about the origins of Project Titan back in October of last year. It just happens to be it's now 1 year on. I would encourage people to go back and listen to that for full details about the project. But for those who have joined us more recently and don't know about Project Titan, could you summarise what it's all about?
Sure. Well, in brief, Project Titan takes the name from Mount Titan, which is the mountain on which San Marino lies nowadays, and San Marino city lies nowadays. So, in short, it's a way to revive the original spirits of the Grenada 1978 initiative, led by Sir Eric Gairy, the first prime minister of the small Caribbean island. So, this is the idea. I am the creator and manager of this project on behalf of ICER and Kuhn, because ICER and Kuhn are the two official proposers of this project to San Marino. The project calls for for San Marino, which is a full UN member state, to require to submit a proposal to the United Nations for the creation of a new office, a small office, which is basically tasked with the preparation and organization of a world UFO UAP conference, which is meant to assess the point of studies and research on the UFO UAP phenomenon, and of course, as also as a way to encourage international cooperation, and of course as a venue for the presentation of new ideas and so on. A meeting point, which is very important to mention, which could happen in San Marino, which is a neutral country. This is very important. So this is basically what Project Titan is for. Project Titan was set up, and I've prepared Project Titan, and it was ready almost 1 year ago, when in September, mid-September, after the 30th International UFO Symposium held in San Marino by the Centro Ufologico Nazionale, the CUN, when it was was unofficially submitted to a member of the San Marino government, the Secretary of State for Public Instruction and University. But this we understood later then it was not the proper way to go, because I mean such a project needed another kind of approach, another kind of proposing the project to the San Marino authorities. So after I started scratching my head for a while, and considering that we found a good number of people, some citizens of San Marino, who were quite in favor, enthusiasts about this project, and also I did some research in the legal system of San Marino, and I have found that in it exists old institution of direct democracy, which is basically popular petition. It's called Istanza d'Arengo. This is the name. So this istanza is a popular petition which can be submitted by just one person. One person, but this is the proper way to go, because once this istanza, this petition is submitted, and must be submitted to the heads of state, addressed and submitted to the heads of state. Once that is submitted, then the heads of state have first to check that it's admissible, in the sense that it must be a proposal which has a specific character of public utility. This is the first requirement. Once the two heads of state have verified that this criterion is met, then they will forward officially this petition to the Parliament of San Marino. The Parliament of San Marino has to debate on this. It's not optional. The Parliament has to debate on this proposal, and at the end of this debatement, it will express its will through a vote. If this vote is positive, then the Parliament will issue a decree practically obliging the government to act in order to fulfill what was requested in this popular petition. And what was requested in this popular petition was just one thing, very simple, that San Marino accept to participate into the action plan of Project Titan. So this is the point. So now I recently got the positive news that the Capitani Reggenti, the two heads of state, had cleared this istanza, this popular petition, for debate in parliament. So now there is just one step before San Marino can can bring back the discussion on UFOs, UAPs at the United Nations. And this step is the the examination and debate in Parliament. So if this is positive, if the Parliament will issue a positive vote, then San Marino will be obliged, and San Marino government will be obliged to participate in Project Titan.
And if that happens, what is the impact going to be for the UFO subject? What could come of that?
Well, it's not easy to say actually to give a forecast on this. But in any case, the idea on Project Titan, as I told you, the basic idea is to revive the spirit of the Grenada Initiative. That is, to put it simply, UFOs is a world matter. And as such, it has to be addressed and has to be brought to the attention of humanity highest forum, that is the United Nations. So this is the point. If if everything goes as we hope, then we're going to have a first World UFO or UAP conference held in San Marino. Basically, according to the project, it will be open to any kind of actor playing in the subject of research on the UFO UAP phenomenon. As it can be member states, organizations, civil, military, UN specialized agencies like the International Civil Aviation Organization, for instance, which is one of the most interested in this, and so on, can be and will be open to NGOs, international NGOs, private organizations, and selected researchers. So, I mean, this is going to be something totally new, and I expect that this, if everything goes as we hope, of course, will be a huge, how can I say, mm, mm, uh, it will be something that give a good boost to the first of all to the credibility of the UFO subject, because of course, if the UN organize a UFO World Conference, it means that it's something important. I mean, ufologists know this, of course, but for the public opinions of the world, this is something very important. And I suppose that this can, I mean, maybe the first conference will be a bit of interlocutory, so to speak, in the sense that we cannot expect a huge results from the very first conference. But in any case, it's going to be something very important, in my opinion, and especially starting from the second, I think that we should be starting to see some result, concrete result. My least expectation is that this can serve as a way to once and for all um, make clear that the UFO subject is absolutely real, is absolutely important, and is a worldwide matter. And this, I think, that this is going to be the minimum result that I expect from this kind of conference. And Andy, I forgot to say one thing that concerning the parliamentary debate.
Mm-hmm.
This, according to the law which regulates the istanza d'Arengo popular petition, it has to be debated within 6 months. So in within March, within the month of March, we should have a definite yes or no result. And if it is yes, the timing is right, so that Marino will be submitting this proposal to the UN Secretary General office in just before the beginning of the General Assembly, which is mid-September. Every year, the General Assembly of the United Nations starts at mid-September. So there is time, because again, it's not just a matter of submitting this proposal.
Yeah.
It's a matter of preparing, paving the way, so to speak, previously with a sort of I can say lobbying uh, activity. Lobbying, I mean, in the good sense, because normally the word lobbying is a bit of fishy, sneaking
Sure. Yeah.
sort of. No, in this case, it must be a positive lobbying action in order to diffuse the new, explain the reason of this proposal, because of course you cannot, of course, I suppose that most of the representatives, diplomatic representatives of UN member states in New York, they, they would say, what is this? UFO, UAP, what is that? So, I mean, it is extremely important in this case to do an action meant to spread the knowledge of the reasons of this initiative. So, I mean, the timing would be right in the sense that starting from starting in April, there was going to be almost 5 months of time, which is a reasonable amount of time to do this action.
Let me ask, would the situation with Russia's invasion of Ukraine potentially diminish the chance of this being successful if it gets through? the San Marino Parliament, and then it's presented at the UN. Like you say, people can look and think, oh, UFOs, UAP, this is nonsense. But hopefully the situation with Russia and Ukraine is resolved long before then, as soon as possible. But could that have an impact on this being successful at the UN?
It's difficult. Honestly speaking, it's difficult to say, but I mean that as a rule of thumb, the influence could not be very likely. The influence could not be positive because there is too much. How can I say? The environment, the international environment nowadays is very much polarized. Very much there's a lot of one against the other attitude. You see, which, I mean, this initiative of Project Titan, by the way, is something that is meant to, of course, is meant to study, to promote the international cooperative study on the UFO phenomenon. But at least in my wish also is that it could somehow help reduce this negative attitude which is prevailing today, giving an opportunity for confrontation, from not confrontation in the sense of negative confrontation, of discussion, giving the possibility of meeting, of talking, because it's also a matter of persons talking to each other, not only states talking to each other. So this initiative is really something that I hope could give at least a bit of how can I say, of fuel to this possibility of some of starting of going against this negative attitude which is prevailing today.
Well, I just want to finish with a line from your own blog, Paolo, and I'll put all your links and social media descriptions underneath for people to follow. But the enchanting neutral setting of the city of San Marino and its Mount Titan, both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, could truly become the new Geneva of UFOs. And I truly hope that to be the case, because this is certainly a subject that could bring nations and the world together at a bit of a rocky time. So, Paolo, thank you very much for your work and continued efforts, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andy, and I hope to see you soon with positive news.
That is all for this week's show. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to leave the podcast a review on your chosen platform. You can like, retweet, and subscribe. That would all be very much appreciated. The shows are being uploaded onto YouTube as we speak more and more. You can sign up at patreon.com/That UFO Podcast to access the shows ad-free as well. Please get in touch on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, That UFO Podcast. Of course, on Twitter, it's at UFO UAPAM. And again, folks, as always, keep looking up. You never know what you might see.
It wasn't a tic-tac and not quite a saucer, more like a hubcap designed by Chaucer, a little Baroque and quite steampunk, like Alice was playing bass for the Parliament of Folk. The little fucker hovered right outside of my window, and when I shoved out the screen, he made it an issue. I don't think he expected me to see his ass, but I'd had some champagne and smoked a little grass. Meditative game of state full on meta. Can't imagine how it could have been any better. I got to the top of the stairs and there he was. Like, you awake? I was about to abduct you, cuz. I jumped back and nearly kissed myself, and I climbed out the window after the elf, and I woke up in my bed and there was something on my head and everything was weird and everything was red. And I called out to my boys. They thought this was noise. They thought it was a dream. They thought it was my toys. They thought it was my problems, and they think I should seek therapy, and I don't know what to do because it doesn't really scare me. If you really want to know who I think I be, I think it's you and me and us and we and him and her and that and she and that thing over there and what's that, Jake? lies, consider your life, consider your eyes.